Hey there, it's Pastor Wilson, the founder and senior pastor of Unaligned Church. Remember how I said in headline 6, Still Struggling, that there wasn't too much going on, and if there was a big major change, I would come and update you all? It happened, and I want to talk about it. We, Unaligned Church, are now officially a Turning Point USA faith group. And our title is Turning Point Faith Group at Unaligned Church. Given with the recent events concerning Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, Turning Point Faith, and Candace Owens, this is not an easy report, considering how it seems the planet is at war with each other concerning who all of these titles and individuals are. I didn't even bring up Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly or Ben Shapiro, but the reason this is important to me is because when I went to Yahweh when Charlie Kirk got assassinated, I thought to myself, okay, I do not believe that he was a racist or a misogynist. I looked into it. I studied it for myself. In my lev, I truly did not perceive Charlie Kirk to be what I don't like titles, so I'm not going to say left, right, liberal, conservative. Forget that. That's not what... If we get stuck up in titles, we'll never get anywhere, okay? Just people. Some people are saying this is who he was, and other people were saying, no, this is who he was. I had to discern where the truth was, and the truth was somewhere in the middle. Upon reviewing some of his earlier videos and how he presented his topics, yes, I can see why some people would call him a misogynist and a racist. But he wasn't. And if they do not look at the context of what he was saying, why he was saying it, the year he said it, they're going to come and be convinced in their own mind that anyone associated to Charlie Kirk or Turning Point USA is demonic, is a fascist, is just a whole lot of ish and isms. And I'm not about that. What's going to make this a unique change in direction for Unaligned Church is that it's not like we forsook this, and it's not because we're part of Turning Point Faith that we're going to forsake this foundation to who we are, but they are more politically driven. Unaligned Church, it's not. We take everything that the book says, Bible, and we put it in the same place, and we do not have bias, we do not segregate, we do not judge. So everything is together here. To say I am part of Turning Point Faith means that I am a conservative, and the team, all teams, prayer team, ministry team, missions team, that we are somehow now political conservatives is a lie. I'm the pastor. This is coming from me. Just because Yahweh has asked me to do this and has shown me why he wants this done, just because I agree to the terms and conditions of Turning Point's Faith Handbook guidelines, just because I am a Turning Point Faith group leader that is going to host Turning Point Faith events, does not define who I am as a child of Elohim. And that's very important for the congregation and for our viewers all around the world, for our travelers, visitors, or church members, because at Unaligned Church, a visitor is either going to be a member or they're just visiting, but we call them all travelers because we have a car theme at this church, and the car is you and the road is life, and there's a narrow path and a broad path, which represents Shamayim and then hell. So this theme of us being on the road hasn't gone away. Travelers are going to do just that. They're still going to travel. They may abode with us for some time and they may leave and that's fine. But if they're going to get in their car and speed off angrily because we are now part of Turning Point Faith before investigating who we are, Unaligned Church, I wouldn't do that. So anyone who's hearing this, if you were skeptical about us before, I'm sure you're pretty skeptical now. And I would appreciate if our visitors and our church members would take the time to research our church, not Turning Point Faith and what they do, but what we do. Now, we are not against our sponsor, and we are not going to talk down or bad about our sponsor and our brothers and sisters in the Lord. They are political driven. They have the peace of Hashem to go and do what they're doing in the political ring. So to the people who say politics in the church or church and government shouldn't mix, I suggest you watch the Turning Point Faith course if you have a Turning Point group or you know someone who has a Turning Point group. Who is the King of America? Now, I'm still, because I have a lot more knowledge and I study the 200 and I do have a doctorate of divinity, I know what I'm talking about, but so do these speakers. To each their own. I'm just warning you that what the Lord has revealed to me in my studies is not necessarily what the Lord is revealing to some of other people, and that's okay. But who is the King of America? By that pastor will help you understand that politics, the church, and the government do go together. But who is your king? See, Yahweh Jehovah, Yeshua Christ, and Ruach HaKodesh are my authority. I live for their kingdom. It was theirs before. Lucifer's he's just, for a short period of time, it doesn't feel like that to us terrestrials, but to a celestial, they're outside of time, so that's nothing to them. So for Lucifer, he is and has been labeled the god of this realm, but he's really not. He's a false god. He's a false king, but he is allowed to express his free will just like everybody else. So he's going to put into humanity's head that he is the king and terrestrial rulers are kings and queens and rulers, and that's who we should reverence. And in general, yes, if you're under their authority, subjugate yourself. But my ultimate authority, still yet, is Elohim. And this church, our ultimate boss, who we answer to, is Elohim. So if Elohim tells me, I don't know, 5 years from now, leave Turning Point Faith, I'm not going to like that. But if they tell me to do that, and my team has fasted, and we sought and prayed and cried, and we were very adamant in asking our regional manager to pray with us, and everyone was getting that green, yeah, we got to go. Guess who we're going to listen to? It's not Donald Trump. It's not Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, King Charles, late Queen Elizabeth, the President of France, Emmanuel Macron. It's not Vladimir Putin, who's over at Russia. It's literally going to be nobody except Elohim. That's how devoted and serious we are to the one who made us over human created movements, over human created trends, mainstreams, laws. Even at some point, Peter said, at that point, it is better to obey Elohim than to obey Adam. So are we at that point? No. But if we get to that point, will we just look at everybody and go, we're sorry, not sorry, bye? Absolutely. And any seasoned Christian should do that. I just wanted to take the time to break down why this church, despite our affiliation with Turning Point USA Faith, and how that's a heated topic right now, does not define who we are, does not define our purpose and the mission we've been assigned to do. I agree with Turning Point Faith. I don't disagree with them on anything. I don't agree with how they're attacking Candace Owens. I don't agree with how Candace Owens is attacking Turning Point Faith. I don't agree with how these people who are supposed to be representing the Elohim and demonstrating fruits of the Spirit and not making it a biased tilt one way or the other. I don't agree when I see my brothers and sisters falling short in that way. It's not my job to go after them with pitchforks and torches and weapons and yell even at them. What would that do? That wouldn't help Unaligned Church's reputation. That wouldn't help me as a spiritual leader, and it's not going to help anybody involved, right? So let's address the elephant in the room. If you're listening to this news report for Unaligned Church right now, whoever you are, and you have processed that I just announced, we do have a Turning Point faith group, and you are very aware and smart to see what is going on concerning Turning Point faith, Turning Point in general, Candace Owens, and everybody else involved. Have mercy. Have mercy on them. Don't get mad. Pray for the brothers and sisters of the body of Yeshua Christ. This is not a competition. This is not supposed to be a declaration to persuade you, the viewer, to come to Unaligned Church because we are part of Turning Point Faith. That's not what this is. I said in headline 6, still struggling, if there were any major changes, I would report it to you. And that's what I'm doing. And this is a big change. I'm not ashamed. I'm not scared. I realize that this is probably going to make some people mad. This is probably going to create more division. Because the second announcement that I am going to announce and share with all of you is that due to this going to Turning Point Faith, something Yahweh wanted, I lost my flock, all of them. They were not happy. There were other reasons they left, but Turning Point was, well, their turning point, and they left. To protect their privacy, and because we have a privacy policy, I'm not going to get on here and reveal the reasons or the speculations as to why the flock left this online church. I'm just saying that sometimes you'll make choices in life that the Lord wants, and people don't like that. And they get in their heads and they stew on narratives that I never said, I never had a chance to explain, and it just blows up. That happens. So with this flock, Unaligned Church's flock leaving, we are down to 3 people. So what does that mean? That means if you thought updates were slow before, they're probably going to be hindered still yet, but I've been working really hard to finalize and update and get more sermons out. I really am trying, working with our social media, keeping up with my clergy duties to the best of my ability, because third update, I had cancer. It's done. This cancer came about because I had a bad sugar, and it was eating that sugar, and I starved it, and it went away, as directed by Elohim. So I'm good there. But it had me down for several months this year. I didn't know it was cancer. I have so many other health problems wrong with me. I figured it was one of the 15 issues that have made me disabled. And I want to talk about that too. Despite how I look, I am a sickly, disabled individual. My government requires that I put, what is it? Hold on. I have it here. Okay. You see this? This is the food stamps requirements. And in order for me to have food in my stomach in this house, I have to participate in the Adult Enabled Body Program. And they track my hours. If you're a government official and you happen to know that I'm filing for food stamps, let me tell you something. It is really hard to sit here and even make this video right now because of how my health treats me, how my health attacks my system. But then you all turn around and say, despite that you're sick, despite that you're disabled, you have to go put a maximum, I believe, 20 hours out here. Volunteer work. And you don't pay us, but we have to volunteer our time. And because I can't win my disability case at the moment, I can't be excused. You're still saying go work or you don't eat. Granted, scripture says if you don't work, you don't eat. But scripture also says you who are able should work and you who are disabled should not. And the people who are disabled, the ones who are able to work and able to help, should help those who are disabled. You all keep barring me. So that's another reason you don't see a lot of activity from me, church, and to our visitors, because if I exceed 20 hours, that's gonna flag me. It really will. Because what the government's gonna do is say, so you can volunteer more than 20 hours to your ministries, but you can't go flip a burger. Chronic fatigue syndrome, sickle cell trait, and sickle cell trait crisis, and what we thought was seizures, but not, they still don't know what it is, hinder me from performing properly a normal job. Me sitting and coming and going when I can, when my health allows it, is different. So yes, you all may see me here right now talking to you, and you may hear my name and see other videos with my face, but let me assure you, I am fighting tooth and nail to not pass out and to keep focused. I am fighting so hard to get my 20 hours in. Sometimes I can't even do that. So ultimately, the final update for Unaligned Church is that I am so sick that it takes me a while, a hot minute, to get anything out here, where churches can drop you something every week, every day, multiple times in 1 month, and have hundreds and hundreds of content for their congregation and visitors. By the end of the year, you all are going to be blessed, so blessed, if you can just get a total of 10 content posts from me. Is that sermons? Is that social media? Is that something like this, a headline post? Is it a Turning Point Faith event? You know, we're supposed to have 2 of those in a year, if not more. The minimum is 2. I have barely even gotten 1 because of how sick I am. I'm going to make it happen, but I'm sick. And this is proof that just because I'm sick doesn't mean the government cares. It simply means that if I want to eat, I have to volunteer my hours somewhere. And I have chosen to give those hours to my company, which doesn't make any money, and to this church, which is a church company, also doesn't make any money. We give our own tithes to keep the lights on, to keep things going. That's our revenue. That's our capital, is our own tithes. And I'm not ashamed to announce that. If you want to give, if you want to help us out, that's great. But I don't see a lot of people who know really nothing about us or don't have a lot to eat on because the updating is so slow and there's such large gaps when it does come to the sermons and it does come to our content and our social media posts. I don't see people giving to even a company church consistently if they're not getting something in return. And that's fair. That's completely fair. So at this time, I just want everybody to remember us through prayer more than anything. Yes, our 30K has been reached. Yes, Turning Point is amazing and wonderful for us and what we're going to do with our Turning Point. We have high hopes for it. That's so good news. And we praise Elohim for all of that victory. But in the end, we are still a team of 3 now. Our flock is still gone. And we would appreciate it if you all would just pray that we get true, dedicated sheep, not sheep in wolves' clothing or even sheep in goats' clothing or goats themselves. I want sheep. I don't care what they've done, who they've hurt, their secret sins, skeletons in the closet. As long as they're genuine and authentic and they want to learn and they want to grow and discover who Yeshua Christ is, I'm all for that. What I'm not wanting to see happen is lazy, deceptive, sorry sheep, wolves in sheep's clothing, sheaves in goat's clothing, or goats just come up to me and fight me just to fight me, because that's exactly what was going on. It comes with the territory when you're a member of clergy. It does happen. I'm over it. If it's going to happen, I'm going to be a little bit more careful, a little bit more reserved with my new flock. I'm not saying I'm going to treat them indifferent. I don't have a bias simply because of what happened. I'm saying a wise person learns from their enemies, and a wise person will read the room and be careful what to reveal about themselves. Because my former flock got very close to me. And if there's a potential that betrayal is going to happen, if there's potential that the flock would just leave, I probably should be a little bit more reserved with what I'm going to share with them concerning my personal life and my spiritual life, if that makes any sense. And lastly, with this turning point faith, I ask that you pray. I mentioned it earlier to pray for the brothers and sisters of the turning point, but I ask that you specifically pray that Ruach HaKodesh has her way. Yes, her. Ruach HaKodesh is Yahweh Jehovah's Isha. That means wife. And if you go back to origin and study, which is what we do here, and to the people who know what we do, you know what we do. We do origin for a reason. If you pray since from your lev for Ruach HaKodesh to have her way with these individuals, that would be great. That would be wonderful. Because then no one can come and say, well, Pastor Wilson, it's because you wanted us to pray this, and then self-prophecy happened, and which is a thing. That does happen, self-prophecy. I don't want any credit, and I don't want to cause more division, even with what should be perceived as a positive prayer. But if the Lord is allowed to move how they want, and the Lord deals with everybody on this topic with Turning Point, that would be lovely. I want them to thrive. I want them to succeed. I want them to reach people. I want them to plant seeds. I want them all, every individual, to every chapter, to every faith group, to Faith Hub, just every single person there, to experience the beauty and the liberty with Christ, and knowing that this isn't what this tension with commentators, and this tension in general isn't what it's all about. It's about being able to come together and unite. And many of them know that. But if their feelings are offended or their feelings are hurt, I have a lot of compassion there. I have empathy for my brothers and sisters that may very well be experiencing wounded feelings, offended feelings, and that's not easy. And with so many other posts circulating, I want my Turning Point faith group at Unaligned Church to be very careful and sensitive to the rest of the world. And I want this Turning Point faith group to really listen to what it is being said. What do I mean by that? I don't care if they associate as a liberal. I don't care if they associate as a conservative. I want to listen, and I want to be able to have a civil, peaceful conversation. It's not impossible. The world may make it look as if it's impossible and it only ends in violence, but that's not true. It's all up to the people involved. I don't want violence, ever. I want to truly listen. I have to coexist with these people. They're my neighbors. Whether they agree with me or not, they are my neighbors. So you who hear this and you are moved by Ruach HaKodesh, please pray that my leaders and the head of Turning Point Faith and Turning Point in general continue to do the work of the Great Commission, planting seeds, saving souls, uniting under primary doctrine. And when they go into these rings and they talk and sit down with people, that there's that common ground of humanity, and people leave feeling heard and respected. I think that's fair to announce here. I think that's fair to let it be known. I'm not going to hide this. This is something I've been dealing with for a while. That's why I hesitated to even drop this headline. Because if it gets taken out of context, I'm going to get bashed for it. That's okay. I'm not going to regret asking for prayer for my brothers and sisters and for this church, that we unify. I'm not going to ever be ashamed. If I get attacked over that, I'll be sure to show you the Ahava of Yeshua Christ. Okay? I'm not going to pick sides. I'm not. The Lord dropped my church here. He wanted us part of Turning Point Faith. And I don't have a problem with that. I just hope people realize being here, doing what the Lord has asked me to do with Turning Point Faith at Unaligned Church is not a sellout. It's one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. It's one of the greatest things that ever happened to this church. I'm not ashamed to be here, despite that some of the flock was ashamed, and that's why they left. I'm not ashamed. But I'm not deaf, and I'm not blind, and I see the tension going on line and going on around me and going on in the world in general. And I think prayer and having the Elohim come in and do what they want to do with everybody, with every church, in every turning point, and every chapter, everything that's associated to Turning Point, and all of the clergy, various members of clergy on this planet, them being able to work through those vessels could be the best thing that could happen right now. But that comes with humility, patience, and restraint, and the fruits of the Spirit. That's what's going to take. And I am not perfect. Okay? I'm not perfect, but I strive to be. I strive to be like Christ, and I strive to learn from my mistakes. But when everything is just so loud, let the voice of Elohim be louder. That's something that I'm taking advice on. Because everything is so loud, I want the still, soft voice, the voice of Elohim, to be louder. Our next headline, I want to say, will be in 2026. May not. I may do a holiday shout out. I may talk about the Turning Point Faith event that we are going to hold either on Zoom or Discord. I may do that too. But regardless, I'm planning to have a new headline in 2026. Things could change, but I think you all get the gist. I think you all understand where I'm coming from without me having to get too deep and get thorough behind each and every little instance that we all see, we all hear. This isn't a sermon. This is a report, but this is probably the biggest, most dynamic report of 2025 is the Turning Point Faith and losing the flock to my cancer. There's just been a lot that's been going on. Lord willing, I will get healthier so I can give you all more headlines and updates. Be safe. Go make disciples. Make wise choices. We're living in a time where choice seems to be just a paid actor. Choice is a paid actor. But if you are a follower or a seeker of holiness, sanctification under the umbrella of the Elohim, choice is your biggest superpower. There's always a cause and effect. Please make the right choice. Much love. Bye.